Hey, welcome back. Now, if it's your first time watching this video, I have two previous videos that definitely leads into this video, but you're more than welcome to watch this first if you want, and then just go back and watch the other ones. But if you're back from watching the other two, welcome back. So I'm breaking down kind of the different chapters of the book from the mailroom to the boardroom, something that I wrote that would hopefully, I believe, edify many of you. You don't have to have a career in the mailroom, but it's definitely something that's a great starting point with regards to starting somewhere where you get all your fundamentals, where you're at. I believe the mailroom was a great hub for me. You know, working in the mailroom helped me see, you had the account executives, you had the traffic coordinators, you had the creative department, you had the actual director of multimedia, you had so many different departments, and I was able to kind of learn and pick from every one of them. And there was always people that I can talk to that just gave me some great insight and great information about what I would eventually later on use in the future for my own personal growth. But I did learn a lot just in general. And for those of you just catching up, I worked in a mailroom in an ad agency. It was a big ad agency in New York City. And at the time, I loved my mailroom job, and I did very well in it. I actually earned decently for someone who was just working in the mailroom and didn't have an education. And but more importantly, it was what I grasped from it. So I definitely want to just take you back real quick, and this is something that I omitted on purpose in the first video, and that was a conversation that I had with one of the partners. Now, there were three partners, and out of the three, this particular one, was not the best with regards to communicating with people well. He seemed like a grouchy guy, but at the end of the day, looking back, he was just a guy who was just serious, who just took care of business. He originally came from Chicago. He was definitely a street guy, and he worked hard to get to the point where he was a partner at one of the largest firms in New York City. So looking back, I definitely understand his standpoint. But I had at this point, I was ready to leave the mailroom. It was now, I don't know, about 5 years in, maybe 4.5 years in, and I had given him my portfolio. So we fast forward, I started, playing around with the computers and educated myself through someone who took interest in me, and then even went above and beyond and bought myself a little black and white laptop, which you can go through in the first video to hear all that stuff. But I also invested thousands of dollars back in the day to buy books. Books was the YouTube of its day. So, like, if you wanted to learn something, you would buy, especially software, you would buy these thick books that for each software package. And each book was definitely over $50, and but it was well worth it. I had a library of books, and then later on came DVDs, made it a little bit easier to learn stuff, CDs and DVDs. But so I started to put my portfolio together, and one day I dropped off my portfolio to this individual. He was the chief creative officer and obviously the owner, a partner. And I dropped off my portfolio to him, and I asked if he could please look at it because this is something that I wanted to like get into. And he said, "Yeah, sure, leave it right there, and he'll check it out when he has time." So, needless to say, a day passed, 2 days passed, a week, and almost 2 months passed. And I saw my portfolio right exactly where I put it in his office. So, one day I just mustered up the courage to, like just knock, and I said, "Hey, Clyde, um, you have a second?" He's like, "Yeah, come in." And he knew obviously what I was what I was there for. But Nonetheless, I pointed at the portfolio and I asked if he saw it, and he says, "Sit down." He took off his glasses, he put it on his nice chiseled marble desk, and he crossed his legs, sat back on a chair, and he told me to sit down. And I was like, "Oh, okay, what's this?" So he told me, Joseph, a lot of people have started their careers in the mailroom, and the mailroom is a great place to start your career because you get to learn a lot. And I agreed with him. I said, "Yeah, I've have been learning a lot." He says, and then there are some people who were just born to stay in the mailroom, and I think that's you. He said, you're a hard worker. You do your job very well. You've definitely created a system that's working well, and I think the mailroom is for you. And I kind of like internally was like, wow, is this like an insult? I mean, compliment? I don't know. So I said, thanks. I said, but I'm also an artist, and I want to move into a different position. And I was just hoping that you could check out my portfolio, give me some feedback, and if this is something that I can do here, I would love to do it in this company. I'm not looking for a raise or anything like that. I want a new opportunity for a career that I can move forward with. And he was like, "Well, I'm gonna tell you the truth." Because I'm not going to look at the portfolio, and I think you're an excellent mailroom guy. He goes, but the truth of the matter is, skill alone is not what's going to get you where you need to go. And even if you have a talent, it's not going to get you to where you need to go. You, at the time, I had a filthy mouth. I cursed. Every other word was F this and B that and this, that. And it wasn't even just the curses, it was also, the things that I said were just pretty disgusting and vulgar because that was my language. That's what I knew. That's what I grew up with. And but he set me straight, and he told me, no one's gonna hire someone like me with a vocabulary like that. With so many words to express myself in the English language, to use the very limited, primitive street words that I was using is limiting you. And I have to be honest with you, I had a mix of emotions. I was upset. I was embarrassed. I was like everything, and my whole stomach turned upside down because he was serious, and he's like, you won't get an opportunity here, but if you feel like you can get an opportunity elsewhere, hey, that's on you. But I'm saying you're a great worker in the mailroom, and I appreciate your services here in the mailroom, and I think you're a great mailroom guy. And I was like, okay, thank you. I'm sorry. And he's like, oh, and, you can take your portfolio back. So I took my portfolio, and I felt literally like I was a dog with my tail between my legs and just walking shamelessly out of his office. And I felt at that moment, the moment I walked out his door, I was like, wow, this sucks. But it was definitely something I needed. I definitely needed that. I mean, looking back now at 55 years old, I look at the way, kids speak today, and, they don't really know how to, actually, today, they don't even know how to communicate, let alone communicate well. But they don't know how to communicate. They definitely don't have the wherewithal, the vocabulary, the vernacular that they use is just like insane. So I would look at a kid today, again, and not being judgmental, but simply for them, and saying, man, like you need to, you need something. This world is not going to just accept and tolerate that, at least if you're trying to be looked at as somebody serious. Because then what in the world is school for, and what is an education for, and everything else, when you're just going to sound like a fool, an uneducated fool at that. So the very next day, I started wearing button shirts I still wore jeans because I was working in the mailroom, but I wore button shirts, and I got myself a pair of Doc Martens, these cool shoes at the time. Um, and I used to wear a cap the day before and previous. I took off my cap when I actually had hair, and and that day people looked at me kind of differently. Hey, Joseph, whoa, what are you wearing? Where are you going? I'm not going anywhere. And I noticed the positive, you know, um, impact that it had in just my job alone. And then I immediately, literally immediately dropped cursing. Like cursing just went out the window. To this day, I don't curse. I don't think about cursing. It's not even on my mind. It's just I do not curse. If I'm going to use any words, I want to sound like someone who's going to be communicative and articulate in what it is that I'm trying to convey, and not a dumb fool that doesn't know how to put words together. And literally, what he taught me was an important, valuable lesson. And that is, no matter how much skill sets you have, how talented and fantastic you are going to have to assimilate. I don't want to use the word adhere, but you are going to have to assimilate into a world. It might be in the job, it might be in the profession, it might be in the people that might be your potential clients, it might be with the people that you work with, and so on and so forth. But you are going to have to do some sort of assimilation that elevates you. You are your brand. I always say this. I have a business, a martial arts business, and I I always say that logo that you see there, and typically I have the logo on my shirt or something, my hat, and it's like that logo, that's me. So my brand is me, and I am my brand. So when you see me and when you hear me, that is the fidelity and the quality of the brand, and what it is that my business brings to people. And at some point, if you do have a foul mouth, if you do have a derogatory way of speaking, if you don't even know how to speak, if you're too timid, if you're too quiet, and all of these other things that make you less and less and less valuable, you have to be multifaceted. A diamond shines and it's beautiful in all its glory because of its multifaceted face. You turn it here and the prism just shines this beautiful light here. You turn it this way, you see something else, and the clarity of it is, to me, something that is analogous with the way a human being, a person should be. And that is, you should be, if you want people to look at you like the dollar amount value that you are, that diamond, that beautiful diamond that people are going to invest in, well, then it's gonna be more than just your talent. And that's gonna be true with anybody. I mean, you look at Michael Jordan, just as an example that popped in my head. Michael Jordan was an excellent, obviously excellent basketball player, but more than that, he knew how to communicate well to his team, to his coach. When he did interviews, he also was smart enough to not take the first deal on certain things, and then ultimately, create an empire off of his brand on sneakers. But here's a guy who was multifaceted. It took more than just the talent of shooting a ball. Um, and when he was thin and skinny, or at least he thought he was thin and skinny, and he was playing against bigger guys, well, he elevated his game and he worked out and he just did more. And so the whole point is that you're always growing, you're always learning, you're always adding. You gotta be more than what your talent presents. Your talent is great, but it's only going to take you so far. We'll fast forward. I used to hire people, um, not just based off of their talent, but based off of the way they answered my questions. I wanted to see if they were thinkers. So I didn't ask the regular, here's your resume. Oh, you got an associate's, you got a bachelor's, you got a master's degree. Nice, that's cool. Oh, you did this project. That's sweet. That's nice. I asked questions that made them think, but more importantly, the answers were thought provoking for me, so that I knew who I was going to hire. And I'm proud to say that everybody that I've hired, and this was zillion years ago, everybody that I've ever hired uh, went on to become, managers, supervisors, owning their own businesses, and so on and so forth, because they were the type of people and with the type of caliber that I saw and recognized in them when I hired them, that could do more, that can be more, that be that multifaceted diamond. So in this video, just like in the book, and by the way, if you want to just get the book and read the whole thing, you can see the link down below. The name of the book is From the Mailroom to the Boardroom. But if not, I'm putting a series out. This is my third video. I can't wait to get to the next chapter in the next video. You'll love that. But this particular video in this chapter right now is about, being more and doing more than just what you're gifted and talented to do. I mean, it's great if you're a gifted pianist. It's great if you're a gifted artist. It's great if you have vocal talent. It's great, all these things are beautiful, but them by themselves is only part and parcel of the complete picture. And if that's all you bring to the table, and that's all you'll get at the table. So check out the book. If not, check out my next video. If you haven't seen the previous two videos, check it out. I mean, I'm just going through piece by piece, and this is something that I went through in my life. That's why I wrote the book, so that you don't have to go through what I went through. And even if you are going through what I went through, you might get some insight. But at the end of the day, just remember that talent alone is not what's going to keep you there. It might take you there, but it's not going to keep you there. And you always have to be in the process of refinement, of bettering yourself, of doing more, having and adding more value. So I hope this video was something that you were educated on, at least in some faction of what it is that I went through in my life. And like I said, you can pick up the book. The link is in the description below, or check out the next video and the previous two that I already did. All right. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Please feel free to comment. Peace.